Good morning. This Saturday morning. Good morning, y'all. Good morning this Saturday morning. I remember back in the day growing up, Saturday mornings, I would either have basketball practice. Oh, no, actually, not practice. I would play my basketball games or my football games, or I would go to my track meets. My dad, he'll come pick me up every Saturday morning. Let me get this mic together. My dad will come pick me up every Saturday morning back when I was living in Sacramento, California. He'll come pick me up, take me to basketball or football or track, you know. Then before I was playing sports, really involved in sports like I like I was before I was involved in sports. I'd get up on Saturday mornings. Saturdays was so growing up, my mom didn't allow me to play video games during the week, right? So I couldn't play video games during the week, but I could play them on Saturdays. So I would get up early, super early, play video games, watch Saturday morning cartoons, crank that Nintendo up, that Tecmo Super Bowl. So during the summers, when I was out of school and on the weekends, right, is when I could play video games and all that good stuff. But now we are grown. So no more video games for me. No more video games for me. But hey, if you play video games, that's your prerogative. I'm not judging you. If you're an adult and play video games, at least play to earn games, okay? If you're gonna play video games, at least play to earn. Because now they have video games where NFTs are incorporated in these video games where you can actually earn crypto while you play. So if you're gonna play video games as an adult, again, if it's just a hobby, listen, no problem, no problem. Enjoy, do what you love to do. Spend your relaxed time, your R&R, rest and relax. I think that's what R&R stands for. Spend it how you want to spend it. Enjoy your downtime. If you want to play video games, play video games. But they have video games now that you can play where you can actually earn crypto and get paid. Let me back up for a second. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. Again, this is not financial advice. Do your own research. What's this? More Netflix than Udemy is playing the victim. I don't get you. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get your black. I don't understand what you're saying. Is it Udemy? Is that a streaming platform? Is that a streaming platform? Is that a streaming platform? I don't know. I don't know Udemy. I don't know anything about it. But anyways, guys, we are live again. Dynasty Mirror, search for Uhuru. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. Tour Sierra Leone, April, end of April. Citizenship opportunities are available for those who qualify. Hit me up. Go to searchforuhuru.com. Go to dynastymirror.com. Or send me an email. In fact, guys, listen. The new website is almost up, but the email is up. Okay? So email me at hello@downfo.africa. Email is in the chat. Send me an email here, okay? We got to get this email cracking and active. So if you're interested in traveling with us to Sierra Leone or to Nigeria, send me an email, hello@downfo.africa. Again, hit me up, hello@downfo.africa. When are African leaders going to reach out to James? Listen, nobody's they've been reached out. African leaders have been reached out to foundational Black Americans. What more do you want? I think now it's just to the point you guys want to come on here and just complain, okay? You guys just want to complain now. That's what this is about. You guys just want to complain and tell jokes. African leadership has reached out, has invited Black Americans back to Africa to invest. That's been happening. Now it's to the point when you post stuff like this in the chat room, you just want to come on here and complain and play the victim. That's all. I'm not saying Africa's perfect. I'm not saying that you haven't seen it because you haven't been engaged. That's what that is. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean that it's not going on. It's just you haven't. Listen, in Sierra Leone, okay, if you are a foundational Black American, but see, I don't know. Now y'all claiming to be Indians, so this might not pertain to you. Now you foundational Black Americans are claiming to be Olmecs and Cherokees. So I don't know if this really pertains. Like, I don't know if this will help you or not because you're Native Americans now. But in Sierra Leone, no, I'm serious. Like I'm serious. Like now you guys are Native Americans. So you're Olmecs and Cherokee Indians now. So I don't know if this will pertain to you because I don't know if you're one of these. Now the FBA is saying they're Dutch. They're saying that they are the original Black Dutch here in America. But I'll give you the information in Sierra Leone. If you are a Black American and if you take a DNA test, or just Black anywhere in the diaspora, and if you take a DNA test and it connects you back to one of the tribes in Sierra Leone, you are eligible for citizenship. James Walker, you are eligible for citizenship. But now, FBA saying that we Indians and that we've been here before Columbus. So, I don't know. On one hand, why won't Africa reach out to us? On the other hand, we's Americans, we Cherokee Olmecs, Choctaw Indians. So you guys got to pick a struggle. Like you guys are going to have to now pick a struggle. That's all I'm saying. Dynasty, when Africa inviting us back? Dynasty, I'm a Native American, Indian, Moor, Hebrew, Olmec. So you're gonna have to pick a struggle. Like I don't know, but if you're interested, take a DNA test. Again, take a DNA test. The results come back linking you to a tribe in Sierra Leone. You are eligible for citizenship. There you go. So there we go. Well, James, have a conversation with the African. Say, hey, I'm interested in Africa. Because the reality is, James Walker, the majority of Black Americans, FBA, have no interest in Africa at all. But I ain't telling you, James, here we go. Once I created this platform, once I started engaging Africans locally, the doors opened. I remember in 2011, all right, when I told my African friends in LA that I was going to Africa, they were offering all types of information and assistance and look at this, look at that, go here, go there. Call my mama. She'll cook you a hot plate when you get to Africa if you go to my country. So, just have a conversation with them, James. Hey, I'm a Black American. I'm interested in Africa. Where can I get started? And they'll help you out, James. But you're expecting Africans just to bum rush and run up to you and say, Black American, oh, come invest in Africa, come invest in my country. No, just go have a conversation with them. I don't know what you guys, I don't know like what you guys want. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, guys, thank you for joining. We will put the link in the chat room. If you guys want to call in, go ahead and call in. And yeah, I'm not saying Africa's perfect. I've had my ups and downs, but I'm still engaging, and I have like my W's in Africa. Again, my W's in my African journey has been way more than my L's, to the point where I don't even focus on the L's because I've won a whole lot more in Africa than I've lost. So I don't even focus or even think about the L's. Okay, I don't even think about it. It's not even worth my time. Yeah, I've had my issues. I've talked about them on here before, but again, I have won so much more. I have so many more W's than I have L's. I'm never worried about it. So yeah, James, just the Africans who are in Iowa, have a conversation with them. Go out to lunch with them. Hey, listen, what country are you from? Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'm interested in this. I'm interested in that. And trust me, they will be receptive. Hey, when you going back home? Do you plan on going back home? Okay, you don't plan on going back home? Hey, can I go to your country? And I guarantee if you say, listen, I want to go visit your country, they'll call up their people in Africa, their family members in Africa. They'll come meet you, pick you up from the airport, take care of you and everything. That's all I'm saying. James, the planes are like the borders are open. James, the borders are open. You could go to Liberia now. In fact, they're having the bicentennial. We've been covering that all week. The borders are open, James. Head over. I was just there in last month. I'm going back in April. Borders are open. Hold on one second. Somebody's on. That good guy. Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just want to say that love your show, love your content. I just think that we as black people need to treat this country like the Jews do and just take over sectors and keep our money in Africa or bank in America or whatever, but pull our money together and start controlling sectors, start controlling businesses. We don't have no togetherness. We just we just have a concept of individual.
And you know what? I agree, but the issue is many of our Black American, FBA, ADOS family, they're just so like America is their end game. Like they can't see outside of America to the point now they're attaching themselves to America by saying that they're Olmecs and Cherokees. Like they can't see outside of America. That's the problem. And I agree with you.
Yeah, I had that concept, of course. My grandmother told me some stories, but those are stories. They don't have a concept of them being the first people being here, period. So my thing is that, like you said, I'm about to do my African ancestry right soon. So once you do your test and you get your results and you go from there, and the the guy Dan Calloway, he, people in that sector just talk. They don't have no evidence. They don't show you nothing. So with the DNA, it show you who you are and where you come from. I think we should go with what we could put on paper, what we could show, and then, like I said, take over sectors and start thinking that we're from Turtle Island and all these crazy things.
Turtle Island guy came on here the other day saying the black people were the first Dutch in New York. Oh man, it's getting worse by the day.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna win with this test that we have of being an American in a sense of African American being the first people who died into the Civil War and being in every war since then and still have not accomplished of the concept of being a American citizen. So why would you keep on, like they say, you keep bumping your head against the wall thinking that, you know, you you keep doing that. It's the it's the concept of insanity. So we
Right.
keep bumping our head against the wall and keep saying that we want to be an American citizen and we keep
Mm.
want to fight for rights when we got a business where 70% of black people are in this business in football and and they control 48% of the revenue. So what I'm saying is that, and they still have a coaching problem. So, and if you have that concept, we ain't never gonna win, because that's the number one way that young black men can make money in America. So if you have that concept, how can you win? That's my
Right, exactly. And right now we're going to cover that today. The amount of money that's being poured into countries like Nigeria, as far as venture capitalism for tech, is out of control. Like it's crazy, and we could be doing that. I mean, if anything, we could develop our own tech here, but we're just missing the boat.
and I see a whole bunch of our brothers talking about like the black community talking about tech jobs. I don't know nothing about that. I'm a blue collar electrician, so all I'm gonna say is about that is that a community, once again, that's a sector of young black men can control a sector, and control the sector, teach young black men how to do it, young black women how to do it, and make something to where they don't have to work for anybody. I don't understand why we as young black men, or black men and black women, don't control sectors.
Uh,
Go ahead, James. Go ahead, bro.
okay, can you hear me?
I hear you just fine. Go ahead.
First off, I want to say thanks for taking my call.
No problem, man. This is an open platform, brother.
I'm
And,
gonna tell
and,
you
and
why
we
I
and
asked you
we
that
and we
question.
respect we respect people over here. It's an
I,
open
I'm gonna
open
tell you.
platform. Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you why I asked you that question.
Okay, go ahead.
I know there's this rift that we having right now is kind of. I don't want to get into all the politics of that.
Let me say this, not to cut you off, brother, not to be rude. The average Black American and the average African ain't beefing. I mean, African immigrant not beefing, bro. That's media. I'm telling you.
No, 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 no. This is the reason I called it.
Go ahead.
I'm from New Orleans originally.
Okay, what up, Wardy?
What's that, Order? You see the goals in my mouth. You know, I'm from origin. I'm a New Orleanian. I spent the first 30 years of my life there. I'm 42 years old.
Okay.
And when I was young, if I'm not sure how old you are, but
39. I'll be 40 in April.
Can you hear me?
You're breaking up.
Okay.
You're breaking up. Right. You got to
Okay,
repeat
yeah,
that.
because I was leaving the house. My Wi-Fi cut off. Now I'm back on my data. So you remember the movie School Days, right?
Yeah, I remember School Days.
School Days was the movie that connected Black Americans to South Africa with that divestment. That was the first time I had ever heard that word. You remember Lawrence Fishburne character talked about divestment because of apartheid?
I don't see. What I remember more about School Days was the light skin versus dark skin thing. I really don't remember the Africa.
No, that wasn't the concept of that movie. For my African people, my Caribbean people, go watch the Spike Lee movie School Days. Sit down and pay attention to that movie. Lawrence Fishburne character was light, but his whole thing was about Africa. We got to stop Black people suffering all over the world. It was something he would always say. But anyhow, the reason I ask what I ask is, up here in Iowa, there's a lot of immigrants up here.
Right.
I've met Africans from 25 different countries. Hell, I've met Africans from countries I didn't even know was on the continent. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you I know all the countries on the continent.
Right.
But I think something that needs to be addressed, from what I see up here, there's a bad divide on the continent as far as geographic location. Because I'm just telling you from what I see here.
Right.
East Africans got something against West Africans. South Africans, there's not very many of them here. There's Central Africans here, and there's quite a few Moroccans here. And I noticed the difference, like when we was used to be in the cafeteria together, how they segregate themselves by country, how they segregate themselves by language. Hell, there's more African segregation than there is with us, you know. And like for people who don't know, in Iowa, there's Bosnians here. There's a whole bunch of Afghans just got here now. There's Burmese here. There's people from a country called Karimi that I never heard of. There's Latinos here. When I was working at JBS and you go in the cafeteria, you couldn't tell none of the other groups apart from each other because they all sat together. But the Africans would split themselves up, and I never did get that. And also, I would like you to expunge on something for me.
Go ahead.
What do Africans have against Liberians? Because they treat Liberians like they treat us. I'm just going to be honest about up here. They run Liberians into the ground up here. They talk about how they not African and all them fucking Liberians and for some reason, there's this thing against Liberians. I don't know why, but I'm just telling you about up here in this area. They see, and I've been out to the Liberian Independence Day celebration that they have up here. So I already know about all that. I've been to parties with the Sudanese. Some of the Ethiopians have invited. I went and partied with these people and sat amongst these people. So my question is, if
they don't have a problem with you though.
If per se me, no, but I've seen some of the things they've came here and said about us. And I'm just gonna say this.
Go ahead.
Why they embrace us here like I see them embracing you on the continent? Why do I have to go to Africa when I'm surrounded by Africans to be embraced? Because I see when you go over there and other people, I follow y'all videos, I read a lot about, they embrace y'all there. And they seem to not do the name calling there, but then they come here and call us these names. That's where this divide is. Respect us here, because you know what? You, Phil, and other people that I follow have never went to Africa and came back and said, oh, the black Americans over there acting a fool, running the people in the ground. I've never heard y'all say that. All I'm saying is respect goes two ways. If I can go to Africa and respect the people, then they should come here and respect me.
Are they talking to you like that though?
Oh, you know what? I've had quite a few Africans from different countries call me names, but I had to have people from that country translate it. And a lot of them kind of shunned me away until the pandemic hit. See, they know who I am up here. They've shunned me away, and when the pandemic hit, and when them white folks was threatening to kill them down there in Des Moines, they started sending their little group spokespeople to come talk to me at work about what we gonna do and protecting ourselves. And I didn't understand it because I was saying, well, a lot of you guys kind of shun me, you know. Like I said, I've been called a bead, whatever the hell that is. I've been called a Jareel, whatever the hell that is. And I'm not going to even start about the name some of these Nigerians they call me. But I didn't call here to start an argument. I just came on to ask.
We having a conversation, bro.
I came here to ask you, what is it that Africans on the continent seem to embrace us, but they can't do it here? That's where my problem is.
I'll say this, see, James. I just think our experience is different because I was embraced here in America by the African immigrants. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had a run-in here and there, but it's so rare that I was embraced here to the point where, like I said, African immigrant will see me here in America. That is when you go into my country. I'll be there in a couple months. Okay, I'm gonna set you up with my mom. My uncle will pick you up from the airport. I'm gonna have my mom cook for you. Like when I go to Ghana, I'll give you a prime example. When I go to Ghana, I go to Kumasi. My homeboy Nana, I go to Kumasi. The minute I step to his mom's house, open the refrigerator, all my favorite drink, all my favorite food. So the majority of the times when I get set out in Africa, It's from their family members who I met here in America. That's my experience.
Well, yeah,
I'll give you a prime example. She's coming on tomorrow. Willa, she's Liberian. Me and Willa got in contact with each other. I said, "Well, I'm going to Liberia." She said, "Okay, you can stay in my family. Cook 3, 4, 5 meals, whatever I wanted." So that's it. My experience has been different.
You know,
Can I go ahead?
In Iowa, so I'll give you it was kind of a culture shock when I moved here, because New Orleans is an 80-something% black city. So I grew up around black Americans, but I grew up segregated. The Vietnamese have Vietnamese village. The only interaction we had with them was going in their stores. Other than that, white folks was segregated from us. The few Hispanics we had were segregated from us. So I grew up around all black Americans. Even the Arabs have a part of town that was just for them. And they all made us know, you guys are black, you guys are niggas, and we don't want to be around you. We have Africans in New Orleans, like down at the French market. That's where we used to go back in the 80s and buy like our dashikis and stuff, because we used to have this thing, like this Africa celebration every year when I was in school. Public schools used to do this. And by the time the 90s came, we started seeing, like, I guess they're distancing from us. But when I moved here, I was 91% white, the state, because it's a rural state. It's a lot of farmland. But there's probably more black immigrants here than there are actual black Americans in the state of Iowa. And I'm not exaggerating, because I've been all over the state. And I just kind of found my experience to be here more of, they chew me, but they don't swallow me. They'll deal with me if it's something they can get out of it, or if they run into an issue. Other than that, it's kind of like when I first moved here to Marshalltown, and I seen the African guy, Sudanese guy, I spoke to him, and he kept going. And it was kind of weird to me, because I was like, well, he's black. Hell, he's darker than me. The hell he don't say hello for? Because in New Orleans, you speak to people. You're going to speak to people, or else you have a problem, because that's disrespect. And just the more and more I started being here, I started noticing, well, when I see black people and speak to them, they just walk by me. Now, I can tell you, I got a friend that's Liberian. I met him probably 2 months after he got to the States. He is like, I can almost say like a blood brother, the way he embraced me and the way I helped him learn how to navigate America, you know what I mean? And it was kind of funny, because this place I was working at, when I started working at, it was maybe 5 or 6 of us. Everybody else was Hispanic or white. And about 2 months after I got this job, a big influx of Liberians and Sudanese got hired there. Well, they started addressing them as those people. I took offense to that, because I felt like at the end of the day, they still resemble me. And if I let them mistreat them, eventually they're going to turn around and start doing it to me, because I had learned that down living in Louisiana, And it was, I got to say, the Liberians probably embraced me more than any other group. And we started having talks about certain things, and I would ask him certain things, and he would ask me certain things about our perceptions. And the perception here was Africa is a desert, is a jungle. All the women walk around naked. All the men just cover their phallus. That's it. But then he said the perception there was here that we all gangsters and killers. You know what I mean? That, when you get there, stay away from the black Americans. That's going to be the ones who going to commit harm against you. And I would always tell them, but you guys hardly ever even interacted with us. And when y'all do, most of us embrace African people. You know what I mean? And I'm a truck driver, so I've been to 45 out of 48 states. So I've been up in Brooklyn. I've been up in Queens. I've been up in the Bronx. I've been in all the boroughs. I've been all over California. I've been all over Florida. And I gotta say this. I have seen over the years the separations by country. And I don't think that it's nothing wrong with embracing being where you from. But then that don't mean you should run the people down of the place that you're at. You know what I mean? Like if I came to Africa and I'm a Black American, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't feel like I should run the people down in the ground and talk down to them because I'm in their country. I'm not in mine. That's not respect. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, Experience Liberia. Go ahead.
And somebody else
Experience
wanted to.
Liberia. You gotta be sure.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Shout out to you brothers that's here. I think you got to look at. And you made a valid point with school days, and you're absolutely right with Lawrence Fishburne. He was talking about investment and everything else like that. But we have to look at where did that problem stem from? We were once embracing each other. We was trying to go to the continent. What changed? We have to look at it. Go back to the source. What changed the mindset when everybody was
Experience Liberia. Sorry for cutting you off. You brought up a great point. Because I remember back in the 80s and 90s, you had rap groups like X-Clan. Everybody was conscious. African medallions, Black Power, Back to Mother Africa, Egypt, we African. And it's something you got Experience Liberia. What happened when it shifted like in the 2000s? Because you're right. In the 80s and 90s, I remember growing up, X-Clan, everybody rocking their Malcolm X shirt, Black Power, Africa, we African, everybody walking around with the African medallions. What happened, Experience Liberia?
Here's the thing, and I say this all the time. The government doesn't change its tactics up. They're using the same tactics they used during that time to infiltrate, to destroy, and to tear down, and they're still doing it today. Just got to look at the blueprint. They've been doing this, and this is what happened. Now they done did it on a major scale when they infiltrated a music genre, what they said wouldn't last. Now you look at hip hop. Those who are conscious, they don't get played. Why? Because you change the mindset. So now going to your point, brother, when you say people come in and segregated, why is it segregation? Who created the segregation? You got to go who started it. They created that with the Great Scramble of Africa. They created them imaginary borders. And why they don't like Liberia? Liberia was the melting pot. Everybody on the 54 countries of Africa wanted to go to Liberia.
And I keep telling my family that because like, no, Ghana. I said no. Liberia before the first coup was the center of Pan-Africanism on this planet.
So it's just like, you know what I'm saying? When you look at why the Mexicans don't like Puerto Rican, because Puerto Rico got close ties to the United States. They don't have to jump through hoops like the Mexicans. You know what I'm saying?
Well, hold it. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you, like I say, I'm just going to speak on here. When I made that statement about walking in the cafeteria and you can't tell the difference in these other groups, when those Puerto Ricans get up here, that difference, that little divide that these Spanish-speaking guys have, they put that aside. When you walk in the cafeteria, if you don't see their tattoos or know them personally, you would think they was all from the same country. I've watched
not necessarily. Between Puerto Ricans and Mexicans.
Listen. I'm married to a Mexican woman, dude. You're not gonna tell me that. I'm telling you what I see with my own two eyes. When I walk in the cafeteria at work, the Puerto Ricans, the Mexicans, the Salvadorians, and the Cubans all sit at the same table and eat together. I'm just telling you about here. I can't speak about where you're from. I'm telling you here. And there's more immigrants here than there are us. I'm telling you what I see with my own two eyes. Okay. And I know these people. That's how I know they're from different countries. I know them.
Yeah, because up north, up here, is not like that. You don't.
Well,
You have Mexicans hang with Mexicans, and they
oh
stick
no.
to their own.
And,
And
Here,
Puerto Ricans stick to their own.
and let me say this: in Cali, it's not like that either. Like when I was in LA, you had the El Salvadorians had their own section, Mexicans had their own section.
yes, but here,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because the geographical location of the state of Iowa, but here, even though amongst themselves, behind closed doors, they differentiate because of the different words that Spanish means to them. When they come out in public, they put those differences aside, and I know that for a fact because I've seen it. I work around them.
And you have to look at this too. That's a normal thing. You're going to gravitate what you're close to, what you're familiar with. Because I used to, I've been up there to Iowa, close to the Quad Cities. I used to be in the reserves over there. So I know how you generally do when you come in and you're surrounded by that. You're going to flock to what you're familiar with and what you can closely relate to. And they know the racism, what they got to face. So they're going to stick together. They're going to stick together. It's the same way when they first come here, and I can just like the tribes from in Liberia. You know, they had a point there. You know, when they had their little civil war and things was going on, it was a problem. But once they get to America, they put all that aside because they're Liberian first. They're Liberian first, and so they're going to come and they're going to do their things that they need to do, right?
Well, you know what? Here in Des Moines, there's this like kind of like hall, a meeting place from was it Grand Gita County over there in Liberia?
Right.
Call it Grand Gita County.
Yeah, it's a
So
Grand Gita County.
I know I gotta know something because I can't pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a like I think once a week or twice a week or once a month or something. They have some kind of a meeting or whatever. And they had this Liberian convention here in America. That was the first time I ever heard of it. Was that deal. And I got a chance to sit around and just watch them speak their little native languages. They were speaking Crown.
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 It's Crown. My wife is Crown.
They were speaking Crown and they were speaking other different languages towards each other. But I come to learn something that it had me wondering, what is it about the children of these people that they can't stay in these home countries? Because you ask the average African child, or hell, I know some kids, some grown-ups that came here as kids, and they'll tell you they've been to Africa once, or they've been to Haiti once, or wherever, because I know some Haitians up here. Oh, I'm never going back there. So what is it about that place that they are adamant? Oh, I'm not going back. Hell, I know some Africans, once they become citizens, they'll tell you, oh, I'm not African no more. I'm American. I won't ever go back.
It's because of the opportunities. You see, it's better opportunities here for them than it is in their home country, because you got to look at it. Most people that's going back, if we have saved, we have done our money correctly, we can go there and tap into and become entrepreneurs. They don't have that. So when they come, 9 times out of 10, they come and they become successful and they do what they do, and they have the choice whether they're going to stay because of what they was dealing with, due to the hardships and pain they're dealing with. It left a scar. But you hear majority of them, they love their home country. They're going back, have a good time, and then come back. So you have to look at it. And then you think about the children. The children, you know, it's not as advanced, so they don't have that technology like that. You know what I'm saying? It's working, it's improving. Trust me. I went there and I saw it. I fell in love with it because I'm tired of the rat race here, and I know the opportunities. I'd have had a small business that I tried to get off the ground, but I kept getting beat out of contracts. And so I learned a lot from the military and learning how to embrace culture, but I also learned about how to deal and interact with other people too, and read through the stuff. So for me, it's a no-brainer, because a lot of times they don't understand that let me make this point. Okay. What's so important about Africa? Why do you call Africa a third world country, right? They say it's a third world country. How can you call Africa a third world country when it's the richest country on the planet? Who came up with that term?
Yeah, I understand.
Poor, right? I can't come get nothing from you if you poor. If you ain't got no money, I can't get nothing from you, right?
Yeah, that's
So now
true.
we got to look at what the system is designed to keep us pulling and cause the divide. This is what I'm saying. When you look at the blueprint for the Great Scramble of Africa, you had the Dutch, you had all these guys. These guys was fighting each other. They were stealing from the country and they was robbing each other. They decided not to do that. They don't care about religion they are. They don't care about what sex they are. They come together for the common good and get that money. And they don't, and I'm not saying they don't have differences, but they understand how to work together, get that money. We need to learn from that. Why are we arguing when it's enough opportunity and money for us to work together? This is why we're losing. And this
Dynasty, I
is
got a
what
question for you.
other communities in America have their communities. You understand? They develop their communities and they get together collectively as a group. Now, you see what I'm saying? And they go through and they make changes in the legislation. We can't come together. We can pick up a picket sign. We can walk around with a picket sign all day till we blue in the face. But when it comes, a train derail, what we got? Nothing. Why? Because you got the FBA talking about the immigrants over here. We all dealing with the same thing. When you get in the lineup, they don't care who they pulling over. They don't want you there anyway. You understand?
Dynasty, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Since you've been to multiple countries in Africa, what is it about Africa that this sub-Saharan thing, that northern Africa almost seems to be separate from the rest of the continent? That has always intrigued me because there's people here that argue me that northern Africa is considered the Middle East. What is it about Central, Eastern, Western, and South Africa that they can't seem to gel with northern Africa? Because I watch that and I pay attention to that.
Well, because the Northern Africans identify more with Arabs and white folks than they do black people, and a lot of it has to do with religion as well, as far as Islam.
See, because like we got the Sudanese here, but they always correct me if I don't put the South part in. Oh no, when I say you from Sudan, no, I'm from South Sudan.
Yeah,
so I kind of understand.
But James, it's equivalent to saying if somebody's from South Carolina, saying you from Carolina. No, I'm from South Carolina, not Carolina.
No. What I'm saying is, I asked that question because I've seen some, I guess, Northern Sudanese and Southern Sudanese, and of course, in the complexion, I can see the difference.
Right.
Most of the South Sudanese are darker, and they kind of had a discussion with me to an extent about how their country split. But I just always been curious to know, when are we going to see all 54 African countries have some kind of commonality? Because if I can repatriate back to Africa and there's 54 countries, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never been on the continent. I'm going. I just haven't made it there yet. It's kind of hard for me to say there's 54 countries to choose one when I've already seen the continent is already so divided by
brother, I ain't gonna, the size of Africa is huge. Like America can fit comfortably in the top of Africa. Have you traveled back and forth between America frequently?
Well, for the continent, I just said I've never been to the continent.
Have you traveled in America frequently?
I'm a truck driver, dude. I've been to 45 out of 48 states. I've been to Canada.
That's your job, but that's your job. Do you go there on your personal investment, Alicia?
Let me stop you there. Because that's my job don't mean I don't get out and explore.
So based off that same rationale, you can drive trucks in Africa to different countries and provide a service. Like to look at Africa that same way, you gotta understand Madagascar is like the size of the entire west coast of America.
Well, what I'm asking,
it's not a small place. So like South Africa, the distance from South Africa to North Africa is like South America to America is not small. Like white people have made the map look so, the rest of the world looks so large. It makes you think like, why are these people not working together? Look, we're working together. these people are separated by thousands of miles in some places, and
Okay, well,
historically thousands of years.
so let me ask a question. Let's
Am I
just
wrong,
say,
Prince?
No, you're right. I mean, James, just put it in perspective. When I fly from Dakar, Senegal to Addis Ababa or Nairobi, Kenya, that's like a 6.5 hour flight. 6.5 hour flight.
I understand. I've had people. I understand it's a large continent. My question is, let's just say the country Tunisia. If I wanted to go into that country and decide I wanted to see if I can become a citizen, I don't feel I would be embraced there because I see so much of a continental divide when it comes to Northern Africa and the rest of the continent. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
So
James, why would you want to go to Tunisia?
Well, it's on the African continent. So what
Yeah,
I'm
but
saying,
so
you because if you
you
tell
want
me
to be a
I have the
citizen in
option,
every
no, no,
and
no.
everywhere in Africa.
If you're telling me I have the option of 54 countries, and then when I
But
pick one,
all right,
I get asked for why I want to go to that one. What I'm saying,
there's 50 states, right? And you could go
yeah,
any state in America, right? So I don't understand why you don't look at it like that instead of looking at it like it's America's it's all together, right? But each state does its own thing, right?
what I'm asking is why. Never mind, because it's gonna seem like I'm trying to start an argument, and that's not. I didn't come on here to argue with nobody.
Can I,
I
What
can I
I'm
understand your
come
point.
with a
I
I'm
understand
pointing
you're
out a
trying to.
logic that a lot of people. I'm pointing out a logic, and I'm asking a question that I'm pretty sure other people have. If there's 54 nations, and you tell me I should be able to pick a nation, well, I don't feel like if I feel like I wanted to go to Chad or I wanted to go to Tunisia or I wanted to be patriate to Morocco or whatever, I don't feel like those parts of Africa would embrace me. And what I'm saying is I don't feel like those parts would embrace me because I see this whole sub-Saharan African thing, but it's a part of the African continent. But nevertheless, I will say this. I think Liberia is going to be the first country I'm going to go to because I see the Liberians really embrace me here. And my friend is going to take me back now that he's a citizen and that I'm not sure if you got to have the jab to go over there, but I haven't had the jab. So I'm going to be honest. I really don't want to get that. I don't want to turn it into a discussion about that, but
You
you
just
don't
got to
have
get.
you don't have to have the jab to go.
oh,
You got to
okay.
get the swab.
You
I
get
want to say
swabbed.
something about the Northern Africa.
Go ahead, Femi.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Femi. Go ahead, Femi.
Okay, I'm a Nigerian, and Dynas mentioned something about the Northern Africa that they are more associated with the Arabs, which is very true. So the fact that the Europeans created the Africa and added the Northern Africa to be part of us doesn't mean that we see ourselves as the same. The Moroccans are more to the to the Mauritius, kind of a little bit nearer to us, the West Africans. But from there, from Morocco down to Egypt, they are completely different people. They are mixtures of Arabs and the Southern Europeans, and they don't see themselves as one of us, and we don't see them as one of us. So if you want to go to Africa, you don't have to think if they are going to accept you. Just give it a try. Just go there and see how they accept you. Or you have to contact some of the Americans who have been there already before. Now,
No.
somebody talks about earlier about Sudan and the Northern Sudan and the Southern Sudan. The Southern Sudan see them as dominating because they are more to the Arabs and they consider themselves to be Arabs because of religion. Islam is very, very powerful. It is sweeping away all African culture. And that is what we are trying to fight. Because for me, I'm a Yoruba person from Western Nigeria, and we are trying to deal with the religious problem. It's a big issue in Nigeria. So it's the same thing that is happening in Sudan. And that is why a Southern Sudan would want you to call him a Southern Sudanese. He doesn't want to associate himself with the Sudan, which is from the north, who are more associated with the Arabs. So I also want to say, somebody mentioned about Nigerians' behavior treating ADOS badly in America. that and there's a lot of also Americans who live in Nigeria presently, and they are well treated very well in Nigeria. And somebody mentioned that a truck driver don't have so much experience. Driving a truck alone from state to state is a massive experience. In fact, you're seeing a lot of things more than somebody who just took a plane and go there. You're driving from states, from country to country. It's a lot of experience. It's a massive experience. And I also want to mention about the behaviors of Nigeria in America. The rich people have a different behavior that towards the ADOS. The average Nigerians who are struggling to survive, who go to America, they just want to focus on the reason why they go to America. They just want to succeed. They just want to succeed. And the media has painted the ADOS as terrible, violent, gang, all those things, because I personally, what I know about African America, I've been following Dynasty for a long time. And I always attack people sometimes when they attack him when he says the truth. Because he was saying recently that Nigerians should fix Nigeria. And a lot of people were attacking him, Nigerians were attacking him. He's saying the truth. The truth is always bitter. People are not going to accept it. And I always comment there. I have a different handle with which I comment, not with this one. So I always comment there, and I always try to put the record straight, because what he's doing is the right thing, is the truth. Nobody wants to hear his truth because it's bitter, and nobody wants to hear it. Now, let me talk about the behavior of Nigerians in America. The rich Nigerian will most likely be disrespectful, and they're also not going to be they're not going to care about whatever the US is going through, because they're in the rich class, so they can travel to America today and come back tomorrow, go to Canada today, go to UK. They have the money, they don't care. But those of us who are traveling to the US in search of a better life, we want to focus on the reason why we are there in America. And to be frank, it's true that Nigerians don't want to associate themselves with the ATOS because of what they've heard about him. But what we have to do now is to give people a try, because there's also terrible people in Nigeria that you cannot have them as a friend. They're very, very terrible people. And there are terrible people all over the place, all over the continent, in each country. I think we don't have to paint all ADOS as bad, and we don't have to paint all Nigerians as bad. We should try and see. Just give it a try and see. Because friendship is very important. If somebody is very bad to you, when they get to know you, then their character will change, their attitude will change, and they can see you in a better way. And lastly, experience of Nigerians who travel to America, in Nigeria, and also Nigerians who live in America, because most Nigerians who are living outside Nigeria, they want to come back home. That is the fact. Most Nigerians living abroad, they want to come back home. They don't want to stay in America. There is an opportunity in America. There are a lot of things, but they don't want to live forever abroad. And the reason why they cannot come back to Nigeria is because of the security problem, government corruption, and everything. It goes to nobody wants to stay in America forever. Just few people want to stay in America forever. And there are some Nigerians who their family have treated them so badly that they don't want to go back to Nigeria anymore. So those are the ones that don't want to go back home. They have no hope and no trust in family, in friends, and everything. There are some people who are working so hard, doing free jobs in the US. They have their families, they have their friends. They send them money to help them do a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, there is nothing to show for it. They spend their money. People like that, we condemn Nigeria to tomorrow. They'll say, I'm not going back to that shit hole. So what people are saying is depending on their experience. So that's how I see it. And thank you, Dynasty, for what you're doing, and thank you, everyone here. So that's what I want to say.
All right, no problem. Two Nigel, go ahead, two Nigel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And the topic, I think it's a little bit, going in a different direction now. However, I think some of the points the earlier speaker, I think it's James Walker, was raising, it seems to be drawn to the divisions between people, and there are divisions everywhere. If you look at it, there are divisions in families and football team, local football teams to national football teams. That is everywhere in the society. So when you see it within our community, you have to contextualize it to that level. It's like there's a division there, but when it comes to the group entirely, you have to be the group, because when you are supporting your local team in football, you can do that at the same time support your national team. That is how human beings behave, and it is done by default. About there are some of the Africans coming to America doing some of the, saying they should not associate with African Americans, stuff like that. I think most of it is class listed issue, because when people leave Africa, many of them are like upper class people, just like African Americans that are upper class. They don't associate with people in the hood or stuff like that. Most of them, move out and go and live in different areas. So when these people move from Africa, they come to America, they drop a level in terms of class, and they end up in a different neighborhood. They become what we refer to here in the UK as ghetto snobs. So they don't live the lives of the people that surround them, because their mindset is the mindset of the middle class. So that's where you get that kind of friction. So it's just a class thing, basically a class thing. And the focus of these people, some of them, they just come, their family, they are suffering, they say their younger brother is going to school. Their focus is, let's just get this one done. I'm not here for African American things. So if you know some of the things Africans go through when they leave their continent and come over to the US or Europe, anywhere they go to, see, you see people that may even be more gifted than you, their lives wasted on the continent. And you see opportunities getting lost on the continent. And when you have the opportunity to do well, when you leave the continent, you want to focus 100%. Hence, it might come across as they are being a little bit, tunnel vision. They don't care about African American issues. It's not because when they see African American, they don't see themselves. It's because they are focused on the problems that they are facing. So that is what is happening there. And I personally prefer to leave it like that. In terms of North Africa, I think there's a little bit of too much of a ceding of North Africa to external forces or foreigners. North Africa, if you look at all the North African countries, check the south. That's how you know the country. Search southern Egypt, southern Tunisia, southern Morocco. You see that there are dark people there. So most of these countries, the arrivals that came from Europe, and they said they enslaved so many Europeans and they had children with them in North Africa. That's why you see those ones there right now that are very, very light skinned. And culturally, they move towards the Arabic culture. It's not because they are mostly Arabic, really. They are not. They move towards the Arabic culture. Even with all this said and done, Africans are more together than James Walker realizes. Africa, they have a defense pact. They have a common free trade area. They are going into a common passport system. They are looking to have a common air control system. So there are so many things Africans are doing as a whole continent, and that massive continent we are talking about. Their population is going to 1.4 billion. So there is so much on the continent that is going well, and it's good for you to know it. When you are seeing only the divisions, you are not realizing that what the leaders are putting in place. I didn't say that. So I thought I should just highlight that for him to understand.
Well, I'll respond to that if I can. Okay. I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna get off because I'm pulling up to the shooting range because I do got to get my shooting in. That's good therapy for me. I do practice my Second Amendment.
Good.
That's mandatory. Anyhow, my sentiment is not to lull on the division, because here again I grew up in New Orleans, and you're right. There's division amongst. Yep, gotta have it.
Yep.
License.
Gotta have that. I've seen what division can do. I grew up in New Orleans in the 80s during the street wars. When I grew up, New Orleans, I grew up in Central City. I can tell you at 5 years old, 6 years old, it was nothing for me to see a dead body laying outside. I remember the uptown, downtown wars. I remember going to school with people from 3 different projects and 5 different other neighborhoods. I know what division looked like. I know the bloody side of it. I've seen, I'm not going to even talk about the amount of funerals I've been to down there. I understand that there's things going on the continent we don't see. But I only ask the question because the questions I ask, I'm pretty sure other people have. And that is one of the questions a lot of Black Americans have. Why is this focus so much on Western or Central Africa? What if we want to go to Northern Africa? We hear this thing of sub-Saharan Africa, and I'm going to be honest, for me personally, that term bothers me because I feel like that's a divisionary term. Sub-Saharan African, like, well, that's not a part of North Africa. You know what I mean? Like I said, some people seem to believe that Northern Africa is in the Middle East or what have you. But nevertheless, I admit it, and I'm going to admit again, I've never been to the continent. My plans is to go. I'll probably be going maybe later this year or sometime next year. Liberia will be my first stop. I want to go to at least 5 different African countries, but I don't want them to be all in West Africa. And I don't want to go on a tour in the sense of I don't want to see the big city. Take me out in the village. Because I already seen some of these videos of some of these big cities, and it's like when I got to Guadalajara in Mexico. Hell, there was damn Denny's and McDonald's and all this other crap. I thought I was in damn America. Just everything was in Spanish. You know what I mean? But when I left Guadalajara, I went into small town Mexico and I got to see some of the things that I went down there to see. I want to do the same thing in Africa. Take me out in the village among the common people so I can really get to see African culture. So with that being said, maybe one of these days again that I get a chance to chime in, I'm gonna chime in with you. Dinus, I ask the questions I ask, not to be trolling and not to start no kind of confusion. That's why when you put Streamlab in, I was man enough to jump on because I could have stayed behind the keyboard and stayed hitting, and I wanted everybody to see my face because I don't hide. I ask what I ask because there's a lot of people that's gonna look back and see this and say maybe I brought up some good points. But with that being said, y'all be safe out there wherever y'all at. Dinus, to you experience Liberia through, was it Femi? And to the rest of the people, y'all be safe when y'all travel. Y'all stay on high alert because you see this race war is being executed across the world against us. And until we meet again, y'all be safe out there.
Be safe and stay
Thank
safe.
you very much.
Yep.
Tariq, can I say something?
All right. Now I will say to my FBA brothers, my Black American brothers, we got to do a little bit more due diligence with studying. Like we should know why North Africa is separated from South Africa. We should know the history of Arab invasions. We should know that the greatest, one of the greatest and worst effects on Black people was Arab slavery. The cultural ramifications of Arab culture on Black people. We should know that the Europeans invaded North Africa. Like these are things that we should know. And we should also take accountability to the fact that we spend time learning our history in white schools. We spend time learning developing our understanding of our culture through white media. Our perspective of Africa is through television. Our perspective of our history is through all of the different things that was promoted and propagated in the world to make us have a bad look on ourselves. You can't sit there and say, Africa's going to look pretty. Does America make Black people look pretty? So we're not going to see an image of Black people looking good unless we make ourselves look good and we promote what's good about us. We want to sit there and highlight what's bad. We can talk about the 9,000 homeless Black people walking around in Atlanta.
Q Butter in LA alone, and just like I think a certain zip code or neighborhood.
Zero.
It's like 40,000.
You're crazy. You know what I mean? And we can sit there and harbor all the time. In New York, nothing but black boys shooting each other, making music, bragging about shooting each other. We could talk about the issues all day long, or we could talk about there's a panel of brothers right now, all over the country, all over the world, talking about connecting and trying to figure out ways to heal a communication challenges we have in the community. And that to me is what I think we should be focused on.
I just want to say that there's a guy out there that he got a platform, and I think he used it the wrong way. So he gets money for a museum, right? And then he's a brother going against the African brother in the concept of divide. I don't know why he's doing the dividing thing, and I think that, but the guy with that big platform is hindering our process of the connection. Number one, with the continent and the diaspora, and number two, with funding with the black community. Because if the black community could get funded as well as some of these the brother I'm speaking about, and other brothers like him, and they talk about black power, but there's no real black unity connected with the continent. I don't see how you want to divide each other and still get this money for just to get money for no sake. Because if you're going to get a museum, you have to get artifacts that cost money. So I don't at the end game, like, what is the end game for our people is the concept of what we need to worry about.
The end game is to acquire strategic this in industry. I think somebody said it earlier on, taking over sectors of this in industry. If you don't acquire strategic industries, forget it. You're not going to do anything on the continent. If we don't start building our own defenses, you're not going to get anywhere. It's just fact of life, really. And I hear our leaders, the other day I was hearing the Ghanaian president telling the French president and some European leaders how we needed more Security Council presence in the Sahel. Or like, this is the problem with our people. They don't seem to think like they are normal human beings, like they are equal to other groups. Until we start realizing that, what, others would have nuclear weapons, we should get our own. Others would have advanced military readiness. We should also be the same way. There is no reason why we should hands down when others are busy doing their due diligence constantly. Q Butter said something about doing due diligence. That is the biggest failure of our community in terms of being able to understand that you have to defend yourself. We are not talking about offense. Defend. Have a standard level. We are not even doing that. I've said this before. I put this down specifically on the foot of black men. We are on this planet today the most, how do I put it? The most pacified group. Even Philippines, that some of their men are barely 5 foot tall, defend their people better. How does that even happen when you have black men? South Sudanese, some of them average height is almost 7 foot. You have the tallest, the shortest, the fattest on that continent and among our community, and what are we doing with it? So when we talk about, the topic here is about how we are making money and there's funds being generated on the continent. That is a part. But remember, most of these investments so far are not strategic. They're just currency, to make money. Money is not power. Money just simply gives you privilege. There are a lot of African Americans that have a lot of money today. The only difference is that they are not channeling it, or maybe they are not even allowed. That's something we have to ask ourselves. Why is it all of them? You think none of them ever thought about going into weapons manufacture? Or why are they somehow barred from it? Or they are not doing it? So these are the questions we have to ask. Why is our community at least 1 billion strong of black people are the most pacified group on earth, even when we are the most persecuted at the same time?
Yeah, I want
I
to
would say
say,
the term intellectual capacity. I think that's a professional term. When an organization doesn't have the ability to actually know how to service, or a person doesn't know how to produce a certain type of labor or type of work, is the capacity. And I think that's just something that we should focus on, the capacity to do in our community. Thinking about defense and STEM education, we need teachers that know how to teach STEM. It's one thing to say, yeah, we want to, Africa is rich, to those who know how to mine, to those who know how to build the machines to mine. If you don't know how to machine, you don't know how to build the machines, you don't understand motors, you don't understand electrical engineering, you don't understand these core principles inside of STEM, it's not going to be anything but sand on the beach. So that's just capacity, even down to weapons. When we talk about, I'm often saying, like, we don't have a Huey P. Newton gun. We don't have our own guns that's like well known in America. We don't have like a well known black gun manufacturer in America. So these are challenges that come with this intelligence.
We have somewhere along the line decided not to use our own people. And it's funny enough, because when the Ghanaian president was saying this, he used the term penetrate. And to be fair, I find it a little bit hard to describe our communities like that. We seem like we are easy prey for any group. And when he was saying they will penetrate into this, like, you don't even understand what you are saying. You don't understand how we look when you say this sort of stuff. And it's really, if as a black man, when you know these things, when you really, really know these things, you have to be embarrassed, if not ashamed. Because
I mean, look
what
at
are
what
the
Che
excuses?
Guevara said. Che Guevara said that when he went to I forget exactly what country, but he said nobody knew what to do with their guns. They didn't know how to lead themselves. And then not to quote Che, but we do have to take that L. We don't know. As soon as we start saying we don't know, then we can start figuring out what we need to know. But I think some of us have this narcissistic position where we know, and because we got money, people should listen to us. So we have a position we should listen. Like, no, you don't know calculus, you don't understand engineering, you don't know how to make anything, you don't know how to build anything, and so you shouldn't be talking. You
I,
don't know what civil engineering is. So it's like,
I,
how could you design a bridge? How would you know where to put a dam at? How would you know how to, diverge energy from different areas and to focus on different resources? You don't know.
the Russians in Ukraine recently, within how many days or weeks, they put a bridge about 4 miles long across a river and dismantled it again.
I
My
think,
God,
I think
it's
people,
crazy. It's crazy what the capabilities our people have not bothered to. And STEM, see, science, technology is at the heart of any society. When you want to build capabilities, that's the heart of it. And we have to start recognizing it. That was the main topic of these discussions, really, because some of our people are already getting into, internet technology and stuff like that. But in the end, sooner or later, you have to move from soft technology, which is based on software, to hard one. We really need to start shifting. Personally, I moved into hard a long time ago because I saw the trends that it called for that. That's the only thing that makes a difference, really. And if you look at the other groups in America or in Europe, like the Jews, when they had so much resources, they had money. Even they owned ships that were used for slave trade and all that stuff. But look at what happened to them the last century. Because in the end, you can have as much money, you really need to have a physical base and strength. And today, they learned from that. Israel today is one of the strongest countries in the world. And there are barely 13 million people. 13 million people are one of the strongest groups in the world today because they valued the right things. They are always into technology. They are always into law. They are also always into finance. These are valuable things. It's not a derogative term. And if our people had learned that a long time ago and used their people, and this is one of the for me, that is one of the biggest failure. We refuse to use our people. I don't know whether they are threatened to not to use their people because there is something to me when I see it. I don't think it's an economic issue. I don't think it's because the leaders are dumb. I feel like somewhere along the line, our leaders, black countries, not African countries, black countries, have been threatened not to use their people. If you look at all our black countries and our neighborhoods, they have all been compromised and stood down in terms of security. Their police numbers are less, their military is less, their border controls are less compared to standard norms around the world, from Asia to South America and the Europeans. Why is that? This is why our societies are weak. This is why our countries can be destabilized until we start realizing this and say, you know what, we are going to fix it. We have, every day we go out to work, we lock our doors, we lock our windows and go out. But for the community, we don't do it. We just like, you know what, let's just leave it. Anybody can come. And the Ghanaian president was using the word penetrate. It's so I'm sure I've been saying this. I think somebody said it on the comment on the chat. I've been saying this because every day I keep reading and seeing the information. It really makes me feel embarrassed as a man, and especially as a black man. We have to take it on the chin. When you hear some of all these people, I think her name was Cynthia G or something, when she badmouths black men. When I hear her speaking before, I was like, oh, this lady is crazy. She sounds angry. But these days, I'm beginning to think she's got a point. That is how mad the situation is. She has got a point. What argument have we got? We don't have any argument to say she's not justified to be saying some of all these things, or it's because our situations were bad. The Japanese, their situation was bad.
She's on an extreme angle of things. You right. She has some points, but my bad.
The Japanese, they were nuked, and today look at them. The Chinese, they suffered too. Millions died under Chairman Mao and all the rest that happened. Look at them today. Cambodia. Our problem is that for some reason, I don't know what they got in our head. I don't know how they did it. Somewhere along the line, we just decided that, you know what, it's not worth the trouble to defend our people, to save our people, to even protect our inheritance, one of the greatest continents on earth, the genetic base of humanity itself. And we, the men, just left it for anybody to come and take. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
But in America, they have a system where a woman don't need a man in the sense of keeping a household together. They could get a baby from a man, but then to get the government to have that subsidy that they need, the income, from the government. So they could get a government.
Brother, that's not what the brother said right there was dead on point. Like, we just have to assess what we do as leaders and the lack of leadership we have, and the lack of skill sets that we possess to protect ourselves. This is just assessment. Like, it's not like, because that's going to take the argument to somewhere else versus saying, like, you know what, let's assess what we have done and our lackage. You know what I mean? How did they get in? Personally, I would say the religious, usage of religious leaders in America, and from what I understand in Africa, with tribal, white people understand. Indigenous people are tribal. They know that from Spain and England and Arabs. Religious organization is totally different than tribal organization. To be honest, it precedes tribal organization, even in the sense of development of governments. In certain ways, countries have developed. Europe was developed through religion. You see what I mean? North Africa was taken over by religion. Tribes have existed for thousands of years in their space and stay just like that. And the way in which tribes govern themselves and the politics between tribes is totally different than the way religion got involved. It's just two different worlds, and religion overwhelmed tribes. And then from that development of governments, and then we didn't catch up. So while we're still doing tribal war, white folks were in the state of government. And they're looking at this position of tribes like, look, I'm going to manipulate y'all because I'm going to look at y'all tribes as inferior, and I'm going to treat y'all in an inferior position. And we're thinking that as tribes, they're treating us with respect. But we don't understand their laws. We don't understand how they view us. They didn't understand none of that stuff. So while they were playing games like, all right, I'm gonna give this tribal leader this, and I'm gonna let you fight with this one. Why you giving me your people that you gonna give me your soldiers that you took from these people? The Europeans passed that message around to each other, like, look, if you get the tribes to fight with each other, you can buy the people that lose. You can buy the resources and the spoils from the wars. We didn't get caught up to that hoodwink part. They did that in America. They did it in Brazil. They did it in the Caribbean. They did it in the Americas. They did it in South Asia. They did it in the Pacific Islands. They did it in Australia. Everywhere that we were indigenous people, we were tribal based. That's what we are. And so they
I
took
see.
advantage of that.
You
And
better
change
can I
the
say
that,
one thing? Oh, my bad.
They
now
don't
say
change
that
the
to me,
tactics.
that to me, that in the religious context is what we got to take accountability for, and a lack of understanding of our situation. Like we did not fully understand what was going on, and those who were put in power before we even understood the effects of those who were being put in power. Look at Obama. Obama got put into power as the face of black people, and they do nothing for black folk. But was a nice picture a nice picture on the wall. He
Mm.
didn't connect nobody from Africa to the Caribbean, nobody from the Caribbean to the Americas. He didn't free no black political leaders. He didn't force the school system to rewrite the school books. He didn't force the music industry to change the music for black community. Like the things that we're talking about are issues. He didn't get in there and say, you know what, the black community suffered because of the laws created in the 60s and the way it affected the community and all these integrational shit. He didn't come in there saying that.
Mm.
So we
And,
got to, that's the,
mm,
yeah, my bad, bro.
yeah, it's all right. One thing about that, I think sometimes that some the African American communities, they've been convinced that voting is a path to power. The truth is, I don't know any group that got power from voting. The Europeans didn't get power from voting. Neither did the Asians or the Jews. The way you get power is through controlling sectors. I don't know who actually said that. You really have to start taking over strategic industries. And if I was advising any the group that is trying to seek reparation, I would say, don't worry about the money. Tell them to hand over a strategic industry in the country so that you become part of the family. Next time when they want to make a decision, you'll be at the table. That is how, because if they give you money, they can claw it back. That is well known in the UK. Here they do it all the time. They will use systems to claw the money back again. You have to take control of strategic things and really have your children and your children's children know how to protect those this in interests and don't compromise it for anything. I was in a conversation with so a white person yesterday. They too know it. He said, if you want to do this type of thing, some people just have to recognize the fact that they will be expendable and do the due diligence to make sure that they get to where they need to get to, because they too understand it. I tell them, I was saying to her that look at what is happening in America now with this Trump thing and all the rest. That the demographic change is the reason why the white people are reacting like that, because they want to protect their power. Nothing has happened yet. Mexicans are not killing them. Nothing is really happening, but they are already reacting. Trump went into office, putting that's lifetime judges into the appeal court. He put, I think, 50 something, and barely any other group in there. He put only white people in that place. These people want to hold on to power as long as possible, and if they cannot hold on to power, they will break the country up. In the Republicans today, the poll is showing already that almost 60% of them believe in breaking the country up. Can you believe that 20 years ago nobody would believe such a statement would be true? You have to understand these people understand threats. They
No,
don't take
but
threat
see,
lying down.
but not to defend Republicans, but if you understood what's going on in this country, and because it's not just white Republicans, it's black people too, and other groups who are starting to wake up and see what's going on from the, I mean, to Niger, they want to make it. All right, and it's already happening. Where if you are a boy and if you identify as a girl, you could compete in female sports. It's going on right
Yeah.
now as we speak. So it's not just. I mean, it's deeper than just what. I mean, from what you're. I
No,
guess from what you're saying.
I get what you are saying, but the true anxiety why Trump is popular is because he says he wants to stop people from coming in. I agree with you. This social,
Yeah, but tonight we got to understand. Tonight, this we got to understand. China, all these other countries, they put their people first. It's what it
True.
is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And the thing I try to tell black people, instead of focusing and worrying about what Trump and how white folks feel about America, we got a whole damn continent.
Yeah.
So
See,
I don't care. Like I'm over white folks want their country back. Yeah, of course they want their country back. But then
Yeah.
we got a whole continent, and we worried about what white folks want in America.
I think it
Go ahead.
starts with like Malcolm X told us about these Democrats and these Dixie Democrats. I don't think we want to listen. We don't listen to our leaders. So it always starts with, you know, what are they going to do for us, or what did they do for us lately? They haven't done nothing for us, and we keep thinking that they're going to do something, you know, great for us.
Mm. It's a bit of a shame,
See,
really, that happened. But my take from that, from what Dinah said, is that the people should, care for their own people. That is what Trump is doing. He's caring for his people, and they start caring for their people. My point is that he started early. Nothing has really happened in the country yet. White people are still doing very well and all the rest, but yet he's already started acting now because they are seeing into the future. But our own people, it's like, even till today, our presidents, there are people that are still bringing foreign troops into our countries. And, I've heard Nigerian governors asking us to get mercenaries. What are you doing with 200 million people? We have to care for our own and take care of our own business ourselves. I don't understand this mentality that's crept in. And to be fair, African Americans don't have that mentality at all. African Americans, they're all about, anybody mess with me, I will mess with you back. However, on the continent, it's slightly different. Their own approach is, we need assistance, we need aid, we need to get this. What can we do? That mentality needs to go, because the young generation are not going to put up with it.
Here's the thing.
There's another side to it too with Black Americans, where this isn't like a white country. This country belongs to natives and indigenous people. And us Black folks have a strong connection to indigenous people. And I think the conversations got to, because when people hear like we have a whole continent, and then we don't have a whole continent. We have some countries on the continent that we can rock with, and there's countries on the continent that we can't rock with. In some ways we can go there, but we don't have the whole continent. And it's just, and white people don't own America. Many parts of America were developed, and Mexico was first introduced to Europeans by a Black man. Chicago was established by a Black man. The whole Western pursuit in America was largely pushed and helped push by Black people. And so, from the Africans who were brought here, the original indigenous people here who are just straight dark and Black, there's a relationship that we want to have between our people who are like of the like-mindedness. And that, to me, as a Pan-African, that's what I represent. I connecting with people who are about the like-mindedness and taking advantage of our situation everywhere. Because the way the world is right now, us Black folks are everywhere. Unfortunately, through the hands of colonization, you have Africans who were taken to Asia. You have Africans who were brought to the Americas. You have indigenous people who were brought from their country to Africa. You have people who move all over the place. And there's people who have a like-mindedness that understand that we need to work together. We need Black folk in Nigeria to work with Black folk in Atlanta, so we can get these products working back and forth. We need to work together as much as possible, and then see through the lines, because we know the political leadership isn't going to be there. But we got to start, encouraging each other to have a certain type of rhetoric amongst each other, so that way we can see through it, because we can find differences and likenesses across the board. You can find coons and sellouts in Nigeria, and you're gonna find people that's politically inclined in Nigeria. You're gonna find coons and sellouts in New York. You're gonna find it, and we just need to expect that and just focus on those who are like putting on the work.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, let me say this real quick. You know why we're defeated and destroyed? One is, like we said before, Dinosaur, we was talking, when you go back, this was a community, right? You stuck together, you worked together, community. We don't have a community anymore. Nobody cares. And we don't understand the game that's being played for some. They don't understand that these people have a think tank and they're constantly thinking about how they can dominate, control, and keep the power. Look at the schools. Back in the day, they used to have a trade school where you could work for yourself. They took that. They destroyed the black families, right? They make movies about the government behind drugs that they pumped in there based on true stories they got out there, and nobody's mad about this. We're still dealing with it. We worry about the government so much. Stop worrying about the government. The government is not going to save you. The government is going to do what they're going to do and continue to keep their foot on our necks. We got to do for self. We got to raise our community up. We got to bring back collectively as a group and stop worried about, oh, this person don't like me. Come on, you're not going to see eye to eye with everybody, but they come together for the common good to establish, to keep control over us, and they know how to pit us against each other. They've been doing this since the Willie Lynch letters. It hasn't changed. We're not reading the same playbook. And my brother Q Buddy, you said the tactics, when you said they did this in the 80s, they did it, it's the same tactics. They don't change their playbook. I said this when I was in Liberia. I was telling the people, hey, my man, we separate. I said, look, the way you're going to do this, you have to build your community. The government is not doing anything. Collectively come together in the community and change. And when they come, they want their vote, you let them know, we don't need you, but this is what we got already in place. If you want our votes, what are you going to bring to the table? But if you don't have anything to offer, then what they going to do? They're going to continue to come through and give you a bag of rice or whatever and $5, and you're going to jump on it. They don't have no interest for you. We see ourselves every time. We see all of this. And nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. It's 2022, and we still dealing with the same thing. It's nothing new. It's nothing new.
On the continent, what has changed recently on the continent is the moves of the Chinese. And the Russians, to be fair to the Russians, seem to be making moves on the continent, which personally I don't find funny. I really don't find it funny from a security point of view, but from strategic point of view, because the continent was left, to the Western powers. If you remember when the Soviet Union fell in the 1990s, it was hell for Africa, and I'm sure it probably was hell for African Americans too, for so many reasons. There was, the genocide in Rwanda, famine, coups everywhere, the whole thing. And if you look at when our Nigerians started coming to America in large numbers, that was the period. We were decimated, and that was when they had total control. And when I say this to them, sometimes they try to be defensive. Like, no, because the way they operate is they don't understand the idea of conceding power or trying to accommodate. Even if they've done it, the only time they do it is when you prove to them you can play their game. If you look at what happened with Germany, the First World War, they did it and they treated Germany badly. Basically the way they treated us, they treat us now. And the Germans came back within that many decades and tore Europe to pieces. And look at Germany today now. They gave Germany a different treatment. Did you know that the Japanese tried to have an agreement with the Europeans about Australia, where they said I think there was a time they used a coin where they will be like an equal in Australia. The Europeans turned them down and barred many of the Japanese people from returning back to Australia again. And within how many decades, the World War happened, nuclear war. And after that, what happened? They decided that, you know what, we'll do it differently this time. And Japan is one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world today. They learn their lesson. The only time they learn their lesson is when you prove to them you can stand your ground and toe to toe with them. And that is the only sign. If you look at the Red Indians, they were not able to do it, they fell. And the Aboriginals in Australia, they were not able to do it. New Zealand, Africa, we fell. To be fair, the African story is very, very interesting. I think it's because we're very high population and very large continent, and most of the continent, they can't even survive there. That is the reason why we survived. They don't understand, they don't seek power until you are ready they have to see the glint in your eyes that you are ready to go crazy with them. That's when they see power.
It's if
I don't think
this white
Africans. I don't think Africans from the continent understand how we got to where we at in America. As far as Africans Americans, they had redlining. See, back in the days, the only way you was getting any wealth was for somebody had a house, and they had redlining. I know in my neighborhood, my grandfather felt the effect of that. So they took houses away from generations of a family to have equity in the future. So we have now fintechs. We have now ways to combine our capital and come together as a black community. Don't have to worry about things of that nature no more. I think it's time now to not have to worry about what happened in the past and focus on what can we do together in the future.
For me anyway, what we need to do, I will start from the continent because that's where my primary base is, that we need to change our security posture. We have to have ability to stabilize our system, because if you look at why Africa keeps struggling, because the states are not founded like states. They are not. It's not even fair. It's like the US taking out the half of their police and 2/3 of their military.
So y'all need funding. That's what you're saying?
We don't even need funding. You see, that's the thing. The people can do it themselves. They have the money in their hands. They are not doing anything with it. See, you see, our Nigerians, what they do is they buy iron bars, they put it on their window. They buy iron bars, they put it on their doors. They put it on their gate. The big fences that Americans don't care about building, but they forget to do that for their country.
Brother, but before you got to remember, China has one of the most technically advanced general populations. Like, that's what's putting China above. Education. What made America thrive for those 150 years, America had some of the top brains in the world. Some of the top black brains, some of the top German brains. Everybody. It was a business idea to allow all these people come in. They scrutinized and only let people in based off of IQ scores, testing scores, and certain type of cultural alignments, and they only wanted the best people to come in from other countries. They sell it as if America had opened doors and coming in. No, they said we're only going to take the best in. Europeans, when you talk about the Japanese, like where I'm at, and personally, it's black and white. Japanese are white folks. Chinese is white folks. They're just different types of white folk. And them white folks work with other white folks. And then there's black folk. And most of us black folk were tribal. And the war between Europeans and Arabs, that the ramifications of that war, 800 or 1,000-year war, was no joke. And their views after that war is what led to their mindset of thinking they can go into Africa, take everything. Those are all religious views, and their views on how they see everyone who's not in alignment with their religious perspective. That was the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, 18 up until almost the 1800s. We had no clue about none of that stuff. We didn't know about their religions. We didn't know about their edicts. We didn't know about their views. Japanese and Chinese people know about it, but their connection to them being phenotypical looking, whatever we want to say, that is what allowed them to get there and their position where they're at. But make no difference when the U.S. was planning and bombing Bikini Islands prior to blowing up Hawaii, to blowing up Japan. They were already practicing to blow up Japan. They were already blowing up their missiles in the Pacific Islands and letting it be known, like, we're going to practice and drop this on you. You may be white, but you're not our type of white. You're just not a nigga. And that's how they looked at it. And
I think about China.
What is Nigeria's natural resource?
They have quite a lot. I will list them later. About China, I wanted to address the point about China and that how educated they were. You are looking at China of today. If you look at the China of early 50s, before they acquired their nuclear technology, Nigeria was probably putting out more graduates than they were at that time. China was not that industrialized when the Japanese invaded, and that's why the Japanese were able to conquer, massive China. And what China did.
Let me ask you something from that real quick before you go there. from the American perspective, Chinese were imported into America to fix railroads, bridges, and build buildings. They were
Yes.
brought to the Caribbean to do those same things, specifically to build, because they
Yes.
already had a highly developed mathematical system. They already
What
had a
year
highly
was that?
developed, this is the 1800s. The railroads in America were largely built by Black Americans and Chinese.
Because they were building it already in China. I think that was the period when the Chinese were calling,
Hmm.
I've forgotten, the period of shame or something like that. They were building railroads in China during that time when they took control of China. So maybe
But it's
from there
not
they got
just that,
the
though. It's
workers
also
back
going.
to.
But when
But
we analyze ourselves, but even
the
the
point I'm.
tribal people
Mm,
in our tribal societies, when we analyze like our development of mathematics, like Nigeria is the result of colonization. You remove colonization, you have tribes. The tribes did not have an agreement on mathematics. We didn't have an agreement. Our agreements and uses of mathematics right now is because of colonization. Before that, we didn't have a connected one. We didn't have all the way a shared calendar. The reason
So
why the
what you're
North had
saying
a
is
shared,
the fact that you keep fighting with each other, you can't, do any
we have to sit
mathematics.
down and really break down the science. When we're sitting there, in order to get to that piece, China sat back and said, we're going to remove white people from the
Yeah, they
sciences
closed their
and
borders,
go
right?
in and say, and they, not just their borders, they attack the information systematically. So we're going to steal every single thing. They said we're not going to respect your copyright laws. We're going to copy every single thing you do. We're going to bootleg it. So those Chinese movies we were seeing in the 50s and 80s and the 70s, that was them trying to get into the movie industry, which now they have one of the biggest movie industries. That was them, the bootleg pencils, the number two pencils they used to put out. That was them practicing how to steal stuff. The bootleg sneakers, they were practicing, but they already had factories in China. Britain
So
went there and
that's
Let me
why
created
they
say
got
tons of
that
factories.
Japanese group, and that's why they ain't want no more Black American groups coming to Japan no more, and they came up with their own Asian groups now.
They
let me
already
caveat
southern black
what you're
people are
saying.
a southern people. Black people in Asia are in the south. Black whites in Asia have already been at war with blacks in Asia before Europeans got there. The original Japanese people, the South Asians, they were already trying to enslave the people of the Pacific Islands. There's always been a war between the northern people, the whites, whichever you want to call them, the Asians, the Russians, the Europeans, whichever group you want to pick, against the people who live in between the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, wherever you want to pick it at. It's
Let
been
me
a
say
beef.
this about China
I
real
think
quick.
that there's a little bit of conflation between the timelines here. When the Chinese really started asserting themselves was after they acquired their nuclear technology. If you look at it from the 1950s, was when they started asserting themselves. If
Look,
you
but
don't
that's a
put your
good thing to not assert yourself. That is taught to them by Confucius. You don't assert yourself in war until you're ready to go. We were asserting
that's what I'm
ourselves.
saying we should be doing now. We should be putting the arrangements in place. We should be securing our countries to a standard level because you can't start demanding fair trade. You can't start demanding this thing that they should not be this thing toppling your government, and you can't. In the case of Nigeria, you can't get 24 hours power supply because we're having bad decision making. See, if you see how the whole thing rots, the gentleman experienced in Liberia said something about how they use think tanks. These people understand the consequences of specific actions. If you have coups happening on continents, that affects decision making. It's not just the coup itself. Then you destroy institutions that are put in place to create a civilization. Then, if you don't have security, it also affects decision making. Look at the Haitian president was killed in his own house. It's only black people this type of nonsense happens to. Black countries have lost more than 10 leaders in 2 years from
Who do
various
you think
ways.
behind that? Question. Who do you
You
think
see,
behind that?
it doesn't even matter. What it tells you is that they are
Yeah,
not
it
secure.
does
Our leaders
matter.
are not secure.
Oh, hold on, my brother. It does matter. It goes to the simple fact that you got to look at, because see, once again, it's a revolving door, right? That just didn't happen. 10 leaders just got assassinated like that. Somebody was behind that, plotting, right?
Yeah.
They was behind that. And it goes back to what I said before. The think tank, the strategy, and Gut Butter, he said, I'm sorry, I might be saying your name wrong, but when you look how China has slid in. China took the playbook, right? They studied the playbook, what America's done. But they say, you know what? Okay, how can we slide in here and get these resources? Because that's the ultimate goal of anything, was to global dominate the richest continent on the planet. So China said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a play out of the European playbook. We're going to go in here, but we're going to flip it on them. This is what we're going to do. We're going to give them loans at a low interest rate or no interest rate. But here's the thing. We know they ain't going to be able to pay for it. Even if they do, we're going to try to keep pushing money on them so where we can work our way in to strategically put in here what we want from this deal if you cannot pay. That was genius on that mindset to think like that. But it also was bad on the Africans' part to really think, why would you give them access to your ports and all your key infrastructure in place that cripples you as a nation? Nobody has a think tank. They're not thinking. Because even though the deal seemed sweet, it was a setup from the get-go.
To be fair to the
I ain't
Chinese.
gonna lie, to Nazi, you've been listening to Cynthia G, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro, because the response that you gave was real. Because I was gonna say what you were saying, brother, but the reality is, as black men, we gotta hold that out. The security issue was probably a black man who got bought out by some white agent who came in and said, "Look, I want to get you to set up your government." And that person was the weakness that caused the defensive issues. The same thing with the Black Panthers. It's a security issue, and we have to take accountability for that.
But I bring this up all the time. There's just a sellout culture in our community. I just don't get it.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that 50 Cent? Have you seen that 50 Cent? This in the song. I think the Heat, where they did this animated, cheap video. But that cheap video had so much information in it, for me anyway, when I saw it, because it was like they were instructing another black person to go and kill the black leaders in the community as a form of gang thing. And funny enough, when the guy went to start killing some of all these black leaders, he drove past, he was pointing a gun, he drove past a white guy, and when he got to the black guy, that's the one he attacked. And I think when people watch that, just watch that thing again, it tells you the whole story, how our communities, and it was a white person instructing a black guy to do that. The gangs. And I've seen a video online where somebody that was involved in the music industry, I think in the early 90s or something like that, they were involved in a meeting that they were made to sign some serious NDA agreement where they are not allowed to disclose it at all. That they were telling them to make this type of music that is going to associate the black culture to crimes. And then he was like very uncomfortable about it. But they threatened him so much that he shouldn't mention anything, that he didn't say anything till just about last year or so. So it tells you what is going on, and that there were other black people there that signed on to it, that he left, and they just took him, that he didn't even know where they had him, that they put them in a car and you just took them away. So it tells you what is going on. And you mentioned it earlier on that there's even documentary evidence showing they did these things to our communities, and yet people are not reacting to it, because people don't react that way in a group. If somebody hits your brother or hurts your family member and you find out, you will react. But as a group, that is not how people react, because people have to go to school, people have to take care of their family, they need some sense of continuity. But as for me anyway, as men and as a community, I think we need to start putting focus on what really matters. That is our only Achilles heel right now, which is security. If we start thinking from the point of view of security, that then we've started putting our head, and we have to be prepared. Sacrifices have to be made. There are people out there that are born, these warriors. We need to start discovering those ones that are going to be able to make the necessary sacrifices, because if we pretend as if, because they are always willing to make the sacrifice themselves. They are always ready. For some reason, we think it doesn't apply to us, and that is that infantile mentality. We the men are the ones that are meant to do the business, and we the men are the ones that set the tone in the community. Cynthia G wouldn't exist if we are setting the tone. How many, Arab women do you see doing this? When the men tell them wear burqa, they wear burqa. Afghanistan, they say don't go to school, they don't go to school. Americans say, white people say, you know what, go to work, they go to work. The men set the pace, and we seem to have forgotten that for some reason. I feel like that is where we start from: security, security, security. If we start fixing that, then people will actually start paying attention.
It was set up to take the black man out. When you go back and you look at it, we heavily incarcerated, strung out on drugs, or no jobs. It was put in place. It was designed that way, right? Think about it. You don't see that in other races, but you see it heavily in the black communities. And I want you to look at this. When you go to all other continents, those that's dark, they're catching holy hell. No matter what type of continent they're on, if they're darker, they are being downplayed, getting cast aside and everything. It's a design to keep those that look like us down at the bottom. Especially for Black American men in America, it was set first and foremost to destroy us. It was set. The proof is in the history. That's all you have to do. And it has not changed. We took out the shackles and they put on mental shackles. And now they incarcerated and they're doing free labor. It's the same thing. They don't switch the tactics.
Yeah, it's not easy. From my point of view, African. I'm sorry. Let me just. From my point of view, African Americans were behind enemy lines, and for me, it's almost like it's very, very difficult, especially given the way they started when they arrived there. It's very, very difficult. I feel more, as I sit here, that the continent has more to answer than even any group outside the continent. Because the continent we've always had the numbers. We've always had the land. We've always had the resources. How did we let this get this bad? What is our excuse?
Yo, brother, I ain't gonna lie. They need to hear people like you, like brothers like you, speak more because you come from a balanced place. You know what I mean? Like it's not, and I think it's the same way. Black Americans have to say the same. We not that we're behind enemy lines. We're sitting in the house, so we have access. Like my internet is popping. I'm trying to get an instant. I'm trying to expand my school into Ghana. I was trying to get it. Yo, the internet is crazy. I was talking to O'Shea. He was like, yo, bro, it don't matter how much you pay in Uganda. The internet is crazy. My internet is great. I got 3 different internets. I get widescreen TVs. They're everywhere. I get computers from my man El Haji. He's from Senegal in Harlem. Like I'm talking about by the loads. So like we have access. Guns. This is gun capital. Gun capital. When I talk to people in other countries, I'm like, damn, it's really not that easy to get guns in certain countries in Africa. Certain countries in the Caribbean, it's not that easy to just go get a gun. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. I never thought of it. I'm like, no, America, we got the engines, we got all that, and the mentality, like the brother was saying, we also got, and I think we got to take accountability for where we weren't able to develop that mentality. We know the enemy's going to do the enemy's job, but we also got to take accountability and look at where did we have shortcomings at. Whether whether we look at the black church, first shout out to all of our ancestors, shout out everybody doing stuff, but we got to take accountability. Russia has been trying to get into Africa. Russia and China and Japan don't fuck with Western Europe. Eastern Europe don't fuck with Western Europe. It's been like that. And so we got, Europeans, the Jews don't mess with nobody. The Jews only mess with the Jews. So we have this white coat on top of everything, but it's like, no, there's different politics going on here, and we got to do what's good for us. If I'm not mistaken, Patrice Lumumba was about to get missiles from Russia. America was mad as hell from that. But that Russia is gone. So that's also the reason why you saw Russia disappear for a little while. But Russia was just a big gun seller. They're like, look, I got guns for sale. I don't care who, I got guns for sale.
Yeah.
The Jews were selling guns left and right. We didn't know what white person to go to because we were under tribal understanding. We didn't know that there were different type of white people. We didn't know that this white person was underneath this white person. In 100 years, when this other white person comes, he's going to be showing a whole different rules. When England got to Haiti and told them, y'all been dealing with the Spanish. They're underneath us. Matter of fact, anybody who has power given to them by the Spanish, kill them first. Mulattoes, whites, and blacks. That's what England did. They did that in America. They did that in the Caribbean. They did that in Jamaica. They came in and said anybody who's messing with the Spanish, Toussaint Louverture fought against the Spanish, with the Spanish, against the French, with the French, against the English at different times.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? The reality is, but the tribal perspective, which we have to release and not take on a religious perspective, because that's what's putting us behind. Not saying putting us behind, but that's what we've been doing for the last 100 years. We went from tribal, not knowing what the fuck going on, to let's jump on this religion bandwagon, or we're gonna do what the colonizer tells us to organize as. And I ain't gonna lie, looking on TV and seeing my brothers in Africa wearing wigs in court is crazy to me. Walking with horses, doing the leg stamp like they in England, that's just crazy to me. But it's just as crazy as seeing a black person in America shuck and jive and sell themselves out on YouTube for the highest person to pay a fucking fee. Like, look, I'll do the most niggerish shit available for you right now. I don't give a damn about black America. Give me some money. So we both gotta, it's just the reality of the situation.
I think on a lighter note, when you said something about the broadband, man, believe me, I know what that feels like. In Nigeria, I pay 3 times the broadband cost I pay here in the UK, and things are supposed to be cheaper on the continent, and yet you can barely get through. We laugh about it that we have evolved a new language now where we greet each other with "Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, I can hear you now." It's like this is the new language we speak now. Every time you will be talking to somebody like, "I can't hear you. I can't hear you." Okay, can you hear me now? Can you? It's like when you call it, even direct call, like you make a direct call, international call, it's not even clear. It's like, what is going on? It's like they need to fix things on that continent. And there's a lot of work to be done. I heard people on the chat saying, "Oh, when are you going to do your own?" I'm trying. That's why I've evolved a new language to talk online now because of it. I talk to Nigerians every single day because I am involved on the ground there. So I feel like if you want to talk about these things, you need to put a stake in there, because if you don't have a stake in it, it's easy for you to just say, okay, anything can happen, it's okay. But if something wants to go wrong in Nigeria now, I would think about it like, okay, it's going to affect me too. It's going to affect my business. So I will think more constructively about trying to resolve issues on the ground there. But you know what? There's a lot to sort out, but I see a lot of progress on that continent. And this year, no, just late last year, I discovered so many things about the continent just by going to the African Union website that I didn't know before. You hear people talk about how, foreigners fund the African Union. But what they don't realize is that the African Union operational cost is funded by the African Union. It's when they have projects that they need to go, like peacekeeping and all those things, that are funded either through the UN or through the European Union, or the Chinese and all the rest of it. About China's presence on the continent, I think this in Experience Liberia said something. The debt of the Chinese in Africa is still, I think, less than 1/3 of the debt of Africans. Is still largely controlled by Europeans. European descendants on that continent. The states, their allegiances and stuff like that is still in the hands of the Europeans. And the Chinese, if we say the Chinese are learning and trying to do what the Europeans did, I'm not so sure. The Chinese don't care about if a coup happens in your country. Just know the Chinese don't have time for that. The Chinese, what they are interested in is getting your resources and taking it back to their country and making their country better. That is what the Chinese care about. So that is where the Chinese is good. And there are so many other aspects of the Chinese that they may not be as, how do I put it, multicultural, and they are very, they have their own racist things too that they do. But you don't see them killing black people in China, one, and you don't see them meddling in black countries too. All they care about is doing business and going back home. The Chinese came to America before the Europeans, and they went back and destroyed their ships. They came to Africa before the Portuguese. They went back and destroyed their ships. The Chinese, they seem to have a different nature for some reason. I'm not sure why. I really am not sure why. And I think it would behoove on
Education,
us to
brother. It's
understand that.
literally education. The Chinese are an educated people, isolated and educated, like Confucius, bro. Like the art of war. Like think about some of the I Ching, mathematics. They already, if just in the sense of what we teach in America, like how we gauge a civilization. Do you have a working road system? Do you have a system of war? Do you have a system in which you deal with your generals? Do you have an ability to feed an army at war at distances? Do you have a writing system? Do you have a reading system? Do you have a system of communication? Like, this is how we define how well developed a society is from ancient times till now. And China has been amongst the ranking for a long time as a civilization. We have
Mm,
tribes, like, no offense. I've spoken to brothers on the continent who told me I have to talk to the chief to see if we can get you to come over here. I was confused, and I understand. I love it. It's African love, but it's like, bro, it's 2022. This ain't
yes.
gonna be able to work. It's like, how do we, like? And I understand that's how it works over there, but in the world, we're not competing with chiefs, having to talk with chiefs, having to have a special conversation amongst the different elders. Like, no, this is you dealing with people who have executive assistants. I had a white boy I worked with. This man wrote a document. He got recruited by a school from Finland, if I'm not mistaken, in America, and they paid for everything. He wrote a document with his friends that changed the scope of real estate in America about 4%. He was
Mm,
recruited here to do that, literally just for that
mm,
document. He went on to marry the daughter of MTV and help do a bunch of different stuff in like business. But that's what their focus is. They're not
mm,
bringing in somebody who says, "Oh, you're an elder. We want to have you run the country, have your opinion." No. How well do you know mathematics? How well? What is your understanding of science? Well, tell me this, kid. How fast can you do it? All right, I want to put you on the front line. I need you to do this. They're not. The military in America is. You have to have a. You just can't get in there with a high school diploma. You're not getting into the Marines. You're not getting into the Army. You might get into the Army with just a high school diploma. Maybe the Army, maybe the Coast Guard, but you're not getting in the Air Force. You're not getting in the Navy. You're not getting in the Navy. You're definitely not getting in the Marines. And you're not doing anything high level in the Army unless they're going to put you in college. Education is the key.
That depends on your ASVAB score. This score, how well you
And that's
score, is the
education.
highest.
Yeah, exactly.
So
If you have a high
right,
aptitude,
right.
yep,
Your
and
aptitude
that's
test
from
is
the
what you
50s.
score
Yep,
to
but it's
determine
still
your job that you do.
that's still based off of saying we're gonna base everything off of your skill set,
IQ,
and
right?
your knowledge, and also with
Exactly.
education, it's not the government's job. America's job is not to educate the people. It's not one part of the Constitution that says anything about education. The education system in America was largely founded by people who were about business because they wanted to have people who were smarter working for them because they can make more money. You see what I mean? Like,
mm,
that's where the school system comes from. So it's going to take corporations or people, business-minded people in Nigeria, in Jamaica, in America to say, I'm going to educate my people because the smarter my people are, the more money we can make. That's my perspective. And it's a
You're
system-wide view.
right about that. But somehow we lost that along the way because when you look at it, and we still do, we have a lot of brilliant scholars. But what happened? They dismiss them. For those that power that be, look what they did to Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. John
mm,
Henry Clark, the research that
I will
all
go
these
back to the brother there. Uh, you can be a scholar, and we have some really beautiful people with great oratory skills, ability to recite, ability to analyze historical references and perspectives. But when we're talking about capacity to do, that is a high standard question. When we look at in New York City, the top nonprofit organizations who are servicing the black community. When you look at saying like capital work projects, how many black people are able to say, look, I can design from the ground up all of the projects that's going to be needed to make sure that my society is going to work, from the bridges to the tunnels, the dams, the sewer system, the water system, the electrical system. All of these things have to be analyzed. And not saying we can't do it, but if that's where the focus got to be, and then the steps got to be taken by those individuals who are professing those steps. So it's no good just saying it. We got to take actions and do it. We have to. So Ivan Van Sertima, at the same time as saying it, should have already created the situation. You see what I mean? Like that to me is that's an L we have to hold from the 80s and the 70s, where it was a lot of talking. And it's like, no, we got to do it. That's where I'm at. With like, I built my institute. Our main reason I came up there because I want to press motherfucking Diane's about connecting to Africa and getting my institute in Africa and getting a Zayek's institute in Africa. That's the main reason I wanted to join the panel, bro. I need help getting an institute in any country in Africa.
So come to Sierra Leone.
I'll pay the internet.
Come to Sierra Leone. I got you. Come to Sierra Leone. I got you.
Yo, bro, you know a dude named Eli Kamano?
I don't know him, but I know I can get you connected in both Sierra Leone. That's no problem.
All right, so look, I'm looking for a spot not in no village. Like, I want to be in the city. You know what I mean? Like, people be sending me, not you, but I was on some different repatriation movements. They were trying to send me some shit on a mountain. So I got to clear some land space. Then another spot was like, I'll give you some spot like 40. Like, I want to be in the city with regular folk. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's in both Sierra Leone. Bo is the second largest city in Sierra Leone. We'll talk
and I know you will.
We'll talk offline.
And even Nigeria, in Nigeria. I got some of my best friends is from Nigeria. I'm closest friends from school is from Nigeria. So if you got links in Nigeria, bro, I got the resources to build in Africa an institute, and then I can directly teach the kids how to do STEM, and we don't got to worry about white regulation. I can have them kids making motors, circuits, learning how to code, and make, like you said, real hand-on code, real hand-on machinery shit. That's me.
Well, Q Butter, we're almost done with my computer lab in Sierra Leone. We're going to be completed with it in April. You're more than welcome to teach whatever you want to in that computer lab in Sierra Leone.
So, what is your computer lab going to be? What is the computer? What does the computer lab do?
Well, I mean, we're going to be teaching kids how to code, STEM, crypto, everything.
I see. Nice.
That's big stuff. Good stuff. That's what I'm talking about.
I wanted to say something to Q Butter about I think sometimes I feel like when he describes African culture or where we are when the Europeans arrived, he seems to imply that maybe Africans were not doing a lot. The reason why I said that is because you see, in the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire, some of them were actually larger than any empire that the Egyptians ever had, and even the Aksum Empire is the stretch of land that they covered is bigger than most of all these some of all these other empires. Just that Africa is massive. How many empires can you have? It's a massive area. So you have empires rise and empires fall. Timbuktu was one of the first places they founded the university in the world, isn't it? So we value education too. We knew maths. Europeans learned most of all this, and they got it from the continent, So it's just that somewhere along the line we lost a step or two, and maybe the Europeans just moved a bit faster. It's not always all about us, It's also about them. Maybe they moved faster too, and they did something to us. But I think there is a window now. There is always a window that opens. In the 60s, there was a window that opened because of the competition between the Soviet Union and the West. And if you look at all the countries that used to be under their control, not just, they got independence, under their control, the Chinese, the Indians, the Israelis, the Pakistanis, they all became nuclear powers and, basically cut the umbilical cord from the Europeans. But Africans didn't, and I feel that window has opened again because of the flux going on in the world now. There is a realignment of powers in the world, and when that is happening, it's for us now to take advantage of it, because that window closed in the 90s to this maybe around 2010 and from 2005 to now, and we should capitalize on it and break control break out of the control of these Western powers. Because if we don't now, God knows, if they reach a form of new Berlin conference agreement between the East and the West, you know what that could be. It could be catastrophic for us.
Right. And so what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. Experience Liberia. Anything else you'd like to share in closing?
No, great show, man. I know we
Appreciate it. I wasn't expecting to be on this long, but it's all good. Yeah. It's all good.
So,
absolutely.
Till next time.
Nigel, anything else you'd like to share in closing?
Yeah, I'm also sorry we completely hijacked the topic and nobody talked
good.
about investment.
No problem.
yeah. Thanks for having me, and great decision.
No problem. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Search for Huru. Peace.